Welcome back to wagertalk.com. I'm Marco D'Angelo, joined in studio with Scott Spreitzer and Preston, the Sports Cheetah. We're going to discuss handicapping conference tournaments. Now, this is going to be part one. We're going to have a second video about this one. Brian and myself will do that. I'm going to let you guys talk how you look at it. Now, conference tournament, for me, I will say I love this week because it's just total chaos. You get to go. I mean, you have 4 days. You could possibly play back-to-back games if teams make a run all the way to the championship game, which we don't see that during the regular season. Do you guys do anything different in your handicapping heading into conference tournament week as opposed to the regular season? I'll start with you, Scott.
Yeah, there's a few things I'll do differently. I mean, one is, I don't put too much credence into long winning streaks or long losing streaks as you head into the tournaments. And you can even do that over the final couple of weeks of the regular season, and there's still teams obviously that are involved in regular season play. If you get like a conference maybe that has a bye week, or if you get two underdogs that actually maybe meet in the second round because both got through their first game in the tournament, and you got a team that's maybe won 1 out of 10 games, but they're laying a couple of points against a team that's maybe split their last 10 games, I tend to look at that team that's been losing. I mean, it's just a little something I do over the final couple of weeks of the regular season. You don't bet them all automatically, but generally, if you've got a team that just can't get out of its own way as far as winning and losing, and all of a sudden they're laying points, to me it's something I'll look at a little bit. But again, I start that a couple weeks before the postseason. But you got that. You've got teams with correctable issues. Syracuse has lost, 4 out of the last 5 games. 3 of those were winnable. The last one to Louisville was right off of Duke. Maybe their biggest issue right now is rebounding, where I think they're about +4 boards per game, and at times they could get beat up. But that's a correctable issue if you pay attention to how you do block it out. If they're able to do that, that's a team that could sneak in deep into the ACC tournament.
Go to you, Preston. And one of the beauties of the conference tournament, now granted, you're not going to have every Cinderella, but there will be a Cinderella that'll come through one of the conferences that the only way they were getting to the big dance was pulling off an upset, and we'll see it happen and put somebody in there. And unfortunately, if it happens in one of the smaller conferences, somebody ends up getting screwed along the way, meaning that the regular season, didn't mean anything, which is one of my pet peeves. But it is nice that all these other teams do get a redo or a mulligan, so to speak, on a bad season if they get hot for 4 games. Is there anything you look at in conference tournaments?
I look at all of the same stuff you do during the regular season, whether it's the numbers or some situational spots. But one thing I've actually enjoyed doing recently is playing on the team that actually swept the season series. I think a lot of people look the other way generally, and they're like, oh, you can't lose to the same team 3. It's hard to be the same team 3 times, right? A lot of times there's a reason that they won by double digits twice against a team that technically, numbers-wise, you'd maybe say is comparable. But a lot of times certain types of scheming and X's and O's and coaching plays against another type of scheming really nicely. And there's a reason that, for example, we're going to talk about North Carolina in a later video, but they offensive rebound the hell out of the ball. And whether they're hot or not, it sometimes doesn't matter shooting jumpers because they can just get the offensive rebound at 40+% of the time and lay it up. So if Syracuse is having issues rebounding the ball, that's a matchup where North Carolina is probably just going to be beating Syracuse, blind, and it's not something I'm going to look at actually playing the other side because North Carolina swept a season series. That was just one example that popped up to my head now, but I actually do like playing on the team to beat the team 3 times if it makes sense. So I kind of dive into those matchups more.
It's a good point, actually. That's one that I've used for a while now is staying away. And you hear a lot of public people. First of all, whenever you hear every Joe Q public talking about a certain thing or tool that they like to use in postseason tournaments, you probably want to dig into that because a lot of times they're myths. And Preston just hit on one of them. That team in double revenge, I'm going to jump on them because they've lost twice. They're extra motivated now. Matchups and schemes play out to this team just being on the wrong end of things when it comes to that certain team. And we've been doing that for a long time. It's not huge. It's not like you play it automatically. Like Preston says, you'll look at it to play. You don't just jump in and pour your bucks on it. But you'll tend to want to stay away from that team that lost a couple of games. You're right about Carolina-Syracuse. That's one where if those two match up, it's tough to think that all of a sudden Cuse is going to turn it around against a team like North Carolina on the glass.
They'd have to have an incredible night shooting there where rebounding where rebounds don't matter.
Exactly.
All right, guys, good stuff. And don't forget, stay tuned for part 2 of this. Brian and I will give you our views on what we look at for conference tournaments. And guys, don't forget, each Friday at Wager Talk, it's Flashback Friday. You can pick Eddie Capper. They're going to have their play up on Friday for just $7. Check it out at wagertalk.com. We'll be back with more here at Wager Talk.